guys, it's Reagan and today I'm going to be giving you my June wrap up. Holy crap, June is over. So the month of June, I did really fantastic at the beginning part of the month, and pretty much every book I'm about to show you I read at the beginning part of the month, and the last 2 weeks I read one book. Listen, sometimes things happen, and I just wanted to watch Amazing Race every day, all day, for 2 weeks straight. There are 22 seasons. I have a lot of catching up to do. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the books. The first book that I'm going to talk about today is Alive by Scott Sigler. This was sent to me for review, so I'm gonna review it. Along with the book, they also sent me this spear. I can use this against all the frat boys walking around near my apartment. I'll be like, get back! Get back! Wear longer shorts! So Alive comes out July 14th. And the book trailer I will leave linked down below. As well, the audiobook that's coming out same day of book publication is narrated by Emma Galvin, who did the same narrations for the Divergent books, which is pretty cool. This book is kind of hard to give a synopsis for because I personally think it's best to go in not knowing much because that's part of the fun. I would put this as like a science fiction, dystopian, young adult thriller novel. It's really fast-paced and quite frankly very gripping. So essentially it follows our main character who wakes up suddenly like inside of a coffin, she thinks. She breaks out of the coffin and she's like in this room like full of other coffins, and she's like, what the crap is going on? And through the first couple of pages she realizes that these coffins are full of other individuals her age, but honestly she can't remember anything and she doesn't know where she is. So throughout the whole novel, all these young kids kind of group together and they're trying to survive in this very weird place, and they're trying to figure out the mysteries and unlock what the crap is going on. And it's actually really interesting. So I personally thought I was kind of burnt out on this particular genre in young adult, but this book kind of reinvigorated my interest in it. The best way to describe it, it kind of was very reminiscent to me. Maybe I'm just weird, I don't know if anyone else sees this, but it reminded me a lot of like a dystopian science fiction Lord of the Flies, because these kids are literally kids and they're trying to figure out how to, you know, work together as a group, leaders versus people who are like doing medical things versus people who are just kind of like the strength. It's very interesting and I liked it a lot. And the ultimate reveal at the end, I did not guess at all. I literally had no idea what was going on through this whole thing, which was really refreshing because usually I'm really great at guessing things because I'm just so good. No, but actually, like, I really didn't guess it and I thought it was really great. So ultimately I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Like, it was good. The next book I read, I also read for review, and it was sent to me by Disney Hyperion, who are helping in part to sponsor this video, just by the way. But again, as I'm sure you know, all opinions stated in this video are my own. And the book they sent me is Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. My whitewash, you can't see it. It follows the main character who suffers from OCD, but she only really suffers from one aspect of OCD, and that's more obsessive thoughts. She basically kind of gets in a tunnel in her mind and just thinks about the same thing over and over and over again, and it causes her all sorts of anxiety and things like that. It's another interesting character because she's a really popular girl in school and she hides her mental illness from her closest friends and things like that, and she deals from a lot of stress from school and her friends, and it's very interesting. Personally, I really love reading young adult novels dealing with mental illness, and I thought this book did a really great job dealing with it, exploring the issue, and stuff like that. I thought it was just really well done. On top of this, this book also houses an element of poetry, which I thought was so cool. I love books with poetry in them, like Slammed with Colleen Hoover. That was my favorite part of that book. So this has poetry in it, and it's really great, and I don't really want to give you too much, but it's an adorable young adult contemporary novel following a girl overcoming her, you know, her own personal roadblocks. There's some romance in it, there's some great friendship, there's a really big twist. It's really good. I enjoyed this immensely, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, I was so excited to pick up, and it was P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. This is the concluding novel, question mark. Is there gonna be a third one? I really hope there is. I think that's why I keep saying that in videos. To All the Boys I Loved Before duology. This is obviously a sequel, so I don't want to ruin anything that happened in the first book, but Essentially, this book series follows our main character, Laura Jean, who's just wonderfully adorable girl who's in high school, who loves to bake, who loves her sisters, who loves her father. She's just all around really great. Like, I love her as a main character to read from. Her whole life, every time she's fallen in love with someone, she's written them a love letter confessing everything to them, addresses it, seals it, but never sends it out. And then one day, all of those letters that she's written have been sent out, and she has to deal with the consequences of it. I really can't reiterate like how much I love Jenny Han's contemporary books. They're so cute, so funny, and they always have a fantastic element of family, like a supportive, loving, funny family, which honestly is just so refreshing to read. And I love books that just have a good like home center, like family life. I'm just like, yes, I love you all. Oh yeah, anyway, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. It was so cute. Read it if you haven't. Am I like too bright? I'm too bright. Okay, I made myself less bright because it was freaking bright in my room. The next book I read was an ARC that I got at BEA, and it's The Nest by Kenneth Opel. This also has illustrations by the same guy who does a lot of Lemony Snicket's illustrations. This is a middle grade novel that's super weird, and that's why I really ended up enjoying it. Essentially, it follows a family, and the little boy struggles with a lot of anxiety issues and things like that. But essentially the main premise of the book is there is a hornet's nest or a wasp nest attached to the house that is constructing a baby throughout this whole book. It's so weird, but it was actually really fun to read. I read it in like an hour and a half because it's very short. The font's obviously bigger and there's pictures. It was an interesting tale. I recommend it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was The Marvels by Brian Selznick. This is also an ARC and it comes out in September. This is Brian Selznick's most newest book, obviously. He also wrote Hugo and Thunderstruck or Wonderstruck. This was a wonderful story. It's half illustrations, which Brian Selznick's pretty famous for, and then half text. And essentially it follows 8 generations of a single family. The first 8 generations are explained through the illustrations, and then the story picks up in 1990 following a young boy as he moves in with his uncle suddenly. This book is really, really great. It deals with a lot of fantastic issues, and it was well written in a way to approach the subject to kids. I don't really want to say what the issues were exactly because I think it's a really interesting reveal, but I loved them and I thought it was just a really heartwarming story that kind of made me tear up on an airplane while I was reading it. So there you go. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Very good. The next book I read was definitely a BookTube favorite this month, and that was The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This book was great. This was a young adult fantasy novel, which is a retelling of 1001 Nights. Essentially, there is a young boy king who marries every single day and kills his wife the next day. And our main character's best friend was married and killed, so she vows to marry the king and take revenge by killing him. This book is obviously going to be a lot more complex than that. There's a lot of subplots and mysteries unveiled. But the thing that's honestly hooked me, I thought the writing was really, really great. It was very, very pretty and easy to read. It flowed so nicely. I definitely didn't love this book as much as I think everyone else did, but I still really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The romance, I'm not totally sold on yet. I really like it, but at the same time it's a little suddenly, like, it's a little insta-lovey, I guess, and I didn't buy it when it happened, which sometimes I do with insta-love. Anywho, this is going to be a really great series and I'm excited to continue on and read the next book, so. And the next book I read this month was Sold by Patricia McCormack. This is a very, very short book that was nominated for the National Book Award. It was a hard and devastating read. Holy macaroni. This novel follows a young girl from Nepal who was basically sold into sex slavery by her horrible stepfather, essentially, and you have to read from her perspective. It's really, really hard to read. It's really disturbing, and the thing is, it kind of opens your eyes again to a problem that persists and is literally happening right now. Like, you're watching this video and some young girl somewhere is unfortunately being abused by someone else, and it's a really hard thing to think about. After I closed this book, I almost felt bad in a way because, you know, as you're reading it, you're kind of experiencing it, you're understanding the emotions, but then again, it's so easy for me as someone who's, you know, been blessed with living in, you know, situation that doesn't require me to live her life. I close the book and then I can just go on living my life, go to class, go to the grocery store, not have an issue. You know, it's just, it put a lot of things in perspective, and it also just, it's hard for me to describe, but this book it's really great, and I think a really important read. It's very hard, but I think one that people should look into. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Amazing. Very, very good. And the last book I completed this month, took me the longest, not gonna lie, and it was for review as well, and it is Whispers of the Fallen by J.D. Netto. This is a dark fantasy paranormal book set in medieval times, which I thought was really cool, and it follows our main character Isaac, who him and his friend find Lucifer's diary, and it basically sets forth like everything. They kind of are forced to go on a journey and run away from all types of things trying to kill them because they found Lucifer's diaries, from Nephilim to fallen stars to like fallen angels, and they're just doing it. This story I thought was really, really fun, fast-paced. Honestly, like the action, there was always something happening, there was always action going on, which made it a really easy, light read. However, I did have some issues with the writing style. It was hard for me to actually get into the story because of just the presentation of the narration. It was a lot of telling instead of showing, which is not something I generally like. I don't like that detached style narration. It's just hard for me to get into the character's head. That being said, I also found the characters to be a little bit flat because I literally didn't feel like I really connected to them. It was hard for me to like see from their perspective, if that makes sense. That being said though, it was a really fun, fast-paced book. If this is a novel that's kind of been on your radar, and it's worth checking out if the plot and the synopsis appeals to you. I will be reading the second book next month, so I will let you know, how it progresses comparatively to one another. Anywho, I ended up giving this book a 2.75 or 3 stars out of 5 stars, so. Alrighty guys, those are all the books I read in the month of June. Let me know down below your favorite book that you read this past month. And yeah, I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!